Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining me for Try It Out Tuesday. Now today we're going to create a coffee card. I'm going to be using a stamp set from Stampendous. It's called Coffee Frame and it has some fun sentiments in here. It had me cracking up. There's only two images in the stamp set. You get the large one with the coffee mug and the frame behind it. Then you also get the coffee beans. But sentiments in here say coffee is a hug and a mug. Better latte than never. One of them that cracked me up says, I want someone to look at me the way I look at coffee. Another one was fun. It said, decaf coffee only works if you throw it at people. And then another funny one was, if you are not coffee, chocolate, or bacon, I'm going to need you to go away. There's also a sentiment that says, take time to smell the coffee and espresso yourself. And super fun sentiments. Take life one sip at a time and stay grounded. But you get the frame. The frame, all your sentiments will fit inside that frame. For my background today, I thought we'd use a background stamp from Stampendous. This one here is called the Posted Script Background. It's a 6x6 cling rubber stamp. And then I am also going to be using the handle. This is a 6x6 handle that's made for background stamps. Basically, it's like a large acrylic block that you can adhere your background stamps to. Just gives it a little bit of stability. If you don't have a MISTI, I think this is going to work out great. So we'll use both of these today, and we're going to start off by doing some stamping. You know, I like to mention on my cards, so what I'm going to do is stamp the image of the coffee mug and the frame twice. I'll just place my large image. You can see the inside of the frame is hollowed out, so if you want to stamp your sentiment at the same time, you very well could. Okay, 2 pieces of white cardstock that are alcohol marker friendly here. We'll ink up our image with Memento Tuxedo black ink, and then we'll stamp this first one. We'll stamp that. That's going to be our background one, and then I'm going to ink it up one more time, and I just need the coffee mug for the second one. I'm going to do a little bit of layering. This way I can bring in a little dimension to my card, and I can just fussy cut out the coffee mug and then layer it on top. So I'm going to zoom in, and then I'm going to bring out my Copic markers. I'm going to play a little bit of music while I color, and then when I'm done coloring, I will get you back. Okay, coloring is all done. Now we're going to stamp our sentiment. I chose the super fun one. The one that cracked me up probably the most. It says, if you're not coffee, chocolate, or bacon, I'm going to need you to get away or go away. So I'm stamping it with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and it will fit perfectly inside the little frame here. Okay, once this is stamped, we're going to do some fussy cutting. Cute little sentiment. I'm going to fussy cut all the way to the line. And a little tip and trick here, guys, when you get to the handle area and you want to cut out the inside of the handle, for me, I've did this often. All I do is cut along the side of the mug here, and then I'm on the inside of my copy handle. I can use my scissors and just trim around it. You're cutting your handle, of course, but the nice thing is it lays back in its place and you can't even tell that there's a cut line there. I did them many times and it helps me get on the inside of intricate areas. But I'm fussy cutting to the line here, and then I did fussy cut out my frame one and I left a little bit of a white border. So everything's ready to go. I'm going to use my black marker, go around the edges of my colored in coffee cup, and then that just helps hide any blemishes or white lines on the edges. Okay, we're going to flip this over. This is going to go directly on top of the white coffee mug. If you want to color that in with the same Copic markers, you could, or even at least one color. That way when you tilt to the side, you won't be able to see that white area. It didn't bother me because I had a little bit of a white border. So we have my dimension, and now we're going to work on our background. I'm going to be using the 6x6 background stamp here, and I'm going to ink it up with MFT's natural ink. It's a very pale tan. I'm going to stamp it on a cardstock panel that I trimmed down to 4 inches by 5 1/4. So I have a little bit of a white border on my card base. And I'm just using my my sleeve to help guide that ink to the paper. And I think that looks so neat. I love background stamps like this. It gives it a very vintage feel. Okay, I wanted to add some color back there, so I'm bringing in some Oxide inks. We're going to start off by using worn lipstick, but worn lipstick was a little bit on the pinkier side, and to me I didn't like it with my orangish colored mug, so we're going to add a little bit more color, and then I'm going to bring in a yellow ink. I'm going to bring in Wild Honey. You mix these two together and it creates a real pretty coral color, and I was happier with the color blend for that one. You can see here it just turns more orangey. Okay, after we have this done, I'm going to add a little bit more ink, spread it out a little bit more, and then I popped it up with foam adhesive. And then I thought, you know, let's spice up the background a little bit more. So we're going to do some ink smishing. I'm going to bring in a very dark ink, and this is just a regular distress ink. We'll set that aside, bring in the craft matte and my walnut stain distress ink. To me this resembles coffee, so I'm going to smush a little bit on my craft matte, and then after we have it smushed on there, we're going to add some water. We're going to dilute this a little bit, and then I'm going to basically smush at a diagonal, concentrating it right over that orange area that I created, and then doing each of the corners. Now I'm not using watercolor cardstock. I'm just using the cardstock actually that I'm using is my Cougar Digital. It's my my heavy duty card base cardstock, and it really absorbed it, so it set really fast, but I thought it looked just like coffee. Okay, once that's done, I wanted to bring in a little bit more pattern paper play, so I'm bringing in an old paper pad from Fancy Pants. I think it's called Electra, but I wanted this tan and black diagonal stripe paper. I'm going to trim down a strip that's 1 1/4 inches, and then I'm going to bring in some white cardstock. I want to also bring in a little bit of that orangish color to my background here as well. I'm going to use 2 of my Copic markers. I'm going to use R35 and then R22, my mid shade and my darkest shade, and I'm just drawing a little bit a line on the right edge of my cardstock here. I used my lightest, which is R22, and then I'm adding a strip to the very end with my R35, and then we're blending it both together. I just need a small strip, so I trim this down. Using my tape runner, I'm going to adhere this to my colored paper here, and I just need 1/4 of an inch showing. I think that's plenty. And then this is going to go a little bit towards the left on my panel. We'll just tape that down, trim off the excess that's overhanging. And I like the way this, I just think the diagonal stripes with the color there just brought it to life. I use my tape runner and adhere this to an A2 size card base, just top folding card base. And then we need to add some bells and whistles. After I adhered it, I realized my sentiment was crooked, and boy, that was a little tough getting it up. But my sentiment was crooked, but my mug was straight. So I fixed it so my sentiment was straight. Now I'm going to go over my coffee in my cup with my Nuvo Aqua Shimmer pen. We're going to add a little sparkle. And then after we had some sparkle added, I'm going to go ahead and use my Journey Glaze over the coffee to make it look more liquidy. Journey Glaze is like a glossy accent. It's going to dry clear, but gives me dimension. And then we have that sparkle underneath. When you tilt it, it just gives a little extra touch. Kind of like the coffee's calling you. Okay, last but not least, we're going to add some white sequins. These have a little bit of an iridescent tint to them, and I thought the white was kind of the perfect touch. I didn't want anything too flashy. So that finishes off my card for today, guys, using the Stampendous coffee frame stamp set. I hope you enjoyed it. I did leave the cleanup in. It's at the end, and I think we're going to chat a little bit while I clean up, because I want to share with you a few things about my storage, only because I know I'm going to get asked a lot of questions. So this is my messy desk after I get done crafting. I store my paper pads in a Ziploc baggie. I just cut the top off. This way I can keep all the ends and pieces. Now that little green paper there is actually a alcohol wipe. I have in my first aid kit, but those are perfect for cleaning my ink smudges off of my markers there. My little paper and pen here, I write down everything that I use. This way I can link it down below in the description area for you guys in case you have any questions. It's there for you. And the marker colors too. That's important. If I forget to mark the colors, then I can't leave them on the video for you after I edit. Just cleaning off my stamp here, putting it back on the plastic. For my blocks, I like to use a magic eraser, well, a generic one, to clean off my blocks. Keeps it nice and shiny. And I lost the backing to my stamp set. I don't know, I'll find it eventually, but I don't know where it went. But just writing down my stamp set name for both of them. I like to keep the packaging too, because sometimes the stamp names are on the package. That little container I picked up at Walmart is what I hold my sequins in. And then this is how I store my 6x6 stamp sets. This bin here, I store my stencils in the same bin. It's from Totally Tiffany, and it is, I believe it's a 7x7 inch container. Very, very inexpensive. And then you can buy the file tabs, which are heavy duty, for the inside of them. For my stencils, I buy the plastic pockets, and then for my 6x6 stamps, I use the special file folders for those, and I'll link those down below. This is my little container that I use to label and store. My new storage system is not quite finished yet, but I've been using these little file tabs from Fun Stamper's Journey. They come 10 in a pack over at Spellbinders, and they will fit in the Avery L pocket. They won't fit in the Simon Says Stamp storage pocket. It's just a little bit small, but I'll talk about that a little bit more detailed in another video. This is how I store my dies in those same smaller pockets. They have two different sizes, the large and the small. I use the small ones for my dies. But I've been liking the storage tabs because they stand up. Well, not that the other ones didn't stand up, but it's just easier to grab, I suppose. And then I just trim off the fold part of the Avery L pocket, and I just slide it in. And if I have coordinating dies, I can add a magnet to the backside on that same plastic thing. So that's my storage. I'm not quite done organizing everything. I just kind of switched over, And I wasn't sure if I should share it with you guys or not because I'm still new and I wasn't sure how well I'm going to like it. But stay tuned for a video on that. I've also got questions on my cleaner. I just use cheapy old spick and span in my little cleaner bottle. It's a smaller bottle that belongs in my craft room. If it's out of my craft room, I get mad because my girls like to take stuff from my craft room. But I wish you a lovely day. I thank you very much for joining me, guys. I will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.